Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello everybody and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kennett. We are doing an out of sequence Under Pressure and we're going to be doing that quite a lot over the next 4 to 6 weeks or so as we sort of maybe become a bit more we react faster to the games that matter most, and so it won't be so much of the normal Monday and Tuesday so much from now on. It'll be as and when needed. And so we are going to be talking in this pod about Arsenal 0, Liverpool 2, and to help me analyse this match I've got our resident video analyst and data collector, Daniel Rhodes. Good evening, Rhodesy.
Yeah, as we'll come on to, there was a lot of data collection with this pressing.
How many hours of collection was it this time? 6?
6, yeah, about 6.5 with a break.
Are you getting faster?
I am getting faster than and this will show why, because there was so many in this one. But I am getting a bit quicker, yeah. Yeah.
And I've got our sports science duo. I don't know what's the name? Is it the Chuckle Brothers? Is it Laurel and Hardy? What are we going to call you? The dynamic duo, Penfold and Danger Mouse. Anyway, it's not.
Yeah, you're aging yourself there, Dan.
Yeah, my pop culture references are yeah. Yes. Anyway, it's Dr. Phil Barter and Mr. Simon Brundish. Good evening, chaps.
How are we doing? You all right?
All good.
So I could be Danger Mouse.
Oh yeah, DM. Yeah. Right, how are you doing, Si? You with us?
Good. Excited.
Right, let's.
I'm kind of getting very, very excited. I was talking with a couple of Reds today. It's very, very exciting part of the season.
Are you coming down with something, Si? There, are you poorly?
I had COVID for a week.
Oh shit! Because your voice sounds really weak.
Oh God, no! I just need to cough.
All right, okay.
I'm fine.
Okay. I thought you were losing your voice there or something. That'd be a disaster.
No, all good.
Okay, good. Right, well, you can stay on, Si, and you can talk us through the lineups then, please. And Liverpool and the rotation.
The rotation is phenomenal. Jurgen is doing a phenomenal job. We went in detail with this last week. We have 2 rotations this game on game, we've been averaging 3 over the previous 5 game period, and I presume there's going to be a ton going into next week, or going into tomorrow's game. So we only really needed to rotate 2. Diaz is. I really like this front 3 as it is. Mo was an enforced, obviously, change. This midfield looks like the first choice midfield, and the back 4 is definitely first choice back 4. So you're probably only flipping 1 or 2 in the front line, but they're interchangeable 5, aren't they? And they proved how phenomenal they are. But this is it's got a cruncher, a spreader, and a buzzer in midfield, and sign me up.
As we all know, that's what's the most important thing: cruncher, buzzer, spreader. But just on Mo, say, I mean, it's so rare that he's actually got maybe enough of a knock to force him not to start. It is quite ridiculous, the availability of this guy, isn't it? It's as well as his God-given talent on the pitch. His availability is just phenomenal.
He's played 1,200 minutes more than the next most player at Liverpool since he joined. That's like 14 games. He's just always available, he is relentless in his pursuit of excellence, which involves all preparation, recovery, and being on the pitch at any given time. He was directed; he wasn't allowed to play, which is the thing. He wanted to, he wasn't allowed to. And I get it, and you've got to.
Do we know what the injury
the whole
was?
Season. Put him.
Do we know what the injury was?
I think he's got 3 different things going on.
Like little niggles, knocks, or
he got a crunch on the foot and on the knee in the same match. And he's had an ongoing ankle thing as well.
Okay, so the totting up effect of all 3, maybe.
Yeah, I think the knee put them off, and then he kind of conceded that perhaps he got a foot thing that he'd been playing through for a while.
Okay, but he didn't start, but he came on. He was fit enough to come on. I guess the thing is that he is not going to get a break over the international rate because
Jurgen pointed out in the press, didn't he, that there are some international the way they talk about it is weird, but he made sure the press are aware that there are some important games coming into internationals, mainly Mo against Mane. Yeah,
and it's an elimination match, isn't it?
Exactly. This is fire. This is the exact same like playing in the AFCON final. This is all out.
2-leg.
They're going to give everything
qualifier.
for that. There's no chance they're missing it.
Yeah. The only one who's got a game like this is Robbo, isn't it, for Scotland? A qualifier as well, I believe.
Yeah.
A win and you're in. I think Scotland have got same as these guys. And what we'll do in
Scotland are playing in it's a semi, isn't it? They get in the final.
Oh right, okay. I
think it's quite hard not to qualify for those from Europe.
But Africa have got 5 spots.
Yeah, they don't give many out, do they?
I didn't mention that Salah has only not been available to him 9 times since he came.
And this is his 5th season.
Yeah. It's kind of remarkable, and even I just watched the press conference. I don't watch them very often, but I was cleaning the kitchen. It was a good opportunity, and apparently I think Kelly asked him about something about Hendo posted something at 2:00 in the morning of being in the bath recovering, that he'd played 40 games this season and Virgil's played 36, and he was like this whole thing about the amount of games that he's played, but he's played literally 1,400 minutes less than Salah and 1,300 minutes less than Ali, and some of our boys have been are playing historic numbers.
Yeah.
But in the context of the last 5 seasons, they are ungodly availability rates for our players. So while we're going, if we just talk of the context for a second about when we started doing this. And I remember distinctly talking regularly about our injury record and the players that were injured, and having Lallana, Henderson was regularly injured, Nathaniel Klein, Lovren, Skirtle, all these boys, they were always injured, Studge, and we systematically replaced them, and now we've gone from having a terrible injury record to having a better injury record than Chelsea, and Chelsea was the gold standard, if you remember. They recruited so phenomenally that they never had significant injuries. They always had the lowest number in the league, and now we last year was an outlier. Freak's going to happen sometimes, but we have recruited so brilliantly. And we have this homogenous system in which everybody is involved and is responsible for specific duties, and there's great trust throughout, from top to bottom, for the medical and sports science staff, that we keep our players available like nobody else as well. So I've seen rumours knocking around about steroid use or some kind of PEDs for our boys, and it's absolutely
that's just that Everton account.
That's conspiratorial Evertonians.
Yeah, usually Evertonians. Yeah. And an Irish journo garbage last year.
Oh, the guy who was on Lance Armstrong's case. What's his face? The ex-cyclist. I know the one you mean.
Yeah, whiny bitch. But we couldn't be more organic and naturally produced ingredients. Everything is measured systematically. We test and track everything. And these boys have been the ones that were often injured have incredible availability levels. And we brought in loads of lads that don't get injured. Apart from, we've got an outlier, but what a player to have just in case if you can get him on the pitch.
Sorry, Paul Kimmage, the Irish fella.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's him.
Yes.
So,
Right.
I wouldn't have even quoted him.
Quick. Let's get all the fitness stuff out of the way. After the match, it's transpired that Trent's got an injury side. Do we need to be worried about this?
No, Hammy. No, he'll be fine.
Okay. So you expect him to be all right for Watford?
I expect him to be all right for Watford. Worst case, he'll be back in training straight after.
For Benfica, right? Okay. Another question I wanted to know in this match. Joel Matip played past the most minutes he's ever played in a season for Liverpool, and how has he done this, Si? How have we done this as a club? This, because it's pretty phenomenal. What, after two years of basically injury hell for Joel, how have we done it?
Well, if you look at his history, right, he came to us not injured. He had history
of 5K minutes, didn't he? Yeah.
Put him.
He had a history of 5,000 minutes, didn't he?
Yeah, 5,500 minutes. He'd had ongoing ankle issues with us for a couple of seasons, and then what I would call cascade injuries that are consequence of something weird going on in ankles or back. And he didn't have a back problem, and it turns out that he needed surgery. He had the surgery which fixed the problem that was causing the other problems, and now he doesn't have it. So it was one of those things that was that hadn't been detected for a while. It was an underlying biomechanical issue that was causing other injuries, and he had a big surgery last year, and it's fixed. He's been built up back to the player he was before. He's managed beautifully as an older player. He's getting aging into his body now, but we've removed the thing that was causing his injuries.
Right. Thank you, Si, for that. Barts, Arsenal in this match. You did the opposition stuff in the pod, and you posted it all. How did Arsenal line up against what you predicted?
The same, exactly what I thought they'd line up for, because that seems to be their go-to 11. The two sitters of Xhaka and Partey, is it Odegaard, whatever, in front, Lacazette up top, and then Saka and Martinelli on the wings. That's their lineup. They've played it, I think, was it 46 times or something over the past 5 games. So that seems to be Arteta's first 11 at the moment. I think there's some debate about the right back position, but the other lads are injured. He's injured, so he's in. But yeah, that's their way. They've played 1 game a week, apart from this week where they've had to play 2, and he's moaned about it. And that's what you get.
That was ridiculous. That was absurd. That was absurd. I mean,
imagine if the Pet's book.
Imagine if Arsenal qualify for the Champions League. They'll have to play Monday. They'll have to play Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday.
Exactly. They'll have to get used to it, but then they'll be able to invest, and they'll get the squad what they need to do that. So it's all twos and throws. But no, I did find it amusing that he was moaning about it twice a week, and that's exactly what you get when it's success in this country.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Now, Rhodesy, as well as doing the data collection on the pressing for this one, which we're going to come on to, you've done the normal match summary here. So go on, hit us with that. Yeah,
it's quite an interesting one because your basic stats of 9 shots each show quite an even game. 3 shots on target to 2 in our favour. We had more than twice their shots in the box, which I think tells you a little bit, 7-3. But we only had 1 big chance each. The Bobby one and the Odegaard one from the error. Even though it doesn't go down a defensive error, I don't know why that was, Dan.
Which one didn't go as an error?
The Thiago one, I couldn't find it on the Opta. We didn't have any, which seems absolutely.
Is it because it was a second phase?
Yeah, Laka didn't have a shot, did he?
Oh, of course, yeah, that was. But again, that's just strange.
It's semantics.
But yeah, we'll take it. But we ended up with twice the non-penalty XG, with 1.2 to 0.6 across the models. But in this game, there was a lot of variance. Opta And I checked this for the only the fourth time this season, the Fantasy Football Scout or Opta model was higher than the rest, or StatsBomb in particular, which is what I use. StatsBomb and Kaylee is what I use. So StatsBomb only had it at 0.8 to 0.6, which seems a little bit strange to me. But then Opta had it at 1.64 to 0.7, so that's nearly double. I think we were talking about earlier, I think it's the Mane chance at the end of the first half. But Kaylee, who I think is the gold standard, had it at 1.3 to 0.7, which is about our average. So I think that's about right. Yeah, a little bit strange, that one. So, but penalty box touches 17 to 12, and I think we'll come on to it when we get to the pressing. When there isn't much penalty box action, when there aren't many shots, when there aren't that many attacks, and both teams are trying to pass the ball, it makes for a pressing, just constant teams. If they're good enough, teams just going at each other, trying to close each other down, trying to win the ball back to create stuff. If the other team's organised, then it's hard to get through. If we're organised, it's virtually impossible for them to get through. The first half was utterly ridiculous in terms of lack of chances. We had the shots from the corners really early on, and then the Mane shot at the end of the half. They had a couple of kind of, I think they had 4 shots, none of them from within 22 yards. So virtually nothing. The XG was about 0.2 to 0.15. Nothing happened in terms of attacking. It was 2 teams cancelling each other out. I think Sai and Phil a bit of breakdown the tactics of why that was, but yeah, it was a game where I thought we had to wait for them to tire. They were really well organised. We were obviously amazingly organised and fitter than them.
Well,
and
just bringing Barts back in here, I mean, Arsenal's defensive record is quite good. After they went 2 seasons in a row conceding 50 goals in the Premier League, but under Arteta, their defensive record is actually pretty reasonable now.
Yes, but I mean, particularly, it is funny, but since the last time we played them, they have gone on a very good run, and they've sorted out their defence. If you generally look at their pass maps and their positional play and where the chances are coming from in the Wyscout report I posted, it's not in. So we talk about zones 14 quite a bit, which is the zone right in front of the box, which Partey and Xhaka are sort of deemed with stopping the balls in, and they do a pretty good job of that against most opposition. So they force the play wider, which then they deal with, but they've been able to deal with. So yes, they've improved their setup. I think that's come from having those 2 settled, or a settled midfield. Remember against us, Xhaka got sent off in 1 game. Partey just come back from AFCON. Do you know what I mean? So that shield in front wasn't quite there, but when they have that shield in front, they managed to stop those kind of attacks. So they've improved their setup particularly, and we'll come on to how that affected this game particularly.
Yeah. So like they were they're 5th best in the league for goals conceded, and 5th best for XG conceded as well. So I mean, Arsenal's problem it really is they don't generate enough attack. I mean, I don't think they did in this game either as well. But they were in very, very good form. I mean, on paper, this was one of the hardest games we've got left in the league. Do you agree, Barts? That because
definitely,
they were. They were quite bullish, I think, pre-match. They were on a good run of results as well, and a good run of form as well. And so I think this was going into it a genuinely tough match. I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's 2 very informed sides. I mean, what we were talking about club rankings, right? So Club ELO was 1872 for Arsenal, which is sort of an orange, if you like.
What's their rank?
I can't read, but I've just got the score, which is 1872, which compares to.
There's no context there, Barts.
United's 1860, City of 2017.
Anyway, let's move on. Anyway, that means no. Right, let's talk about the first half then, right? Si, right? This was a pretty tight match. How did you see the general pattern of play in that first half?
I thought it was really smart tactical game. That both sides tried to compress play, so they were both playing really high lines. Everything was tight in midfield. Out of possession, both teams were doing really, really good jobs on the opposition. They were trying to do the thing that they wanted to do, which was overload Odegaard and on against with Saka down our left hand side, and get Martinelli on switches down our right hand side, which it happened a couple of times. I thought Trent was tremendous. He got beaten like twice, both times in rapid transition, and yeah, whatever, it's going to happen. But Martinelli's really, really, really good, and Martinelli literally created no XG chain. So
zero. He had zero XG chain.
Yeah, so one of those things that looked sexy, but nothing happened from anything he did.
Well, I saw a brilliant stat from Duncan Alexander that Diogo Jota's got more Premier League goals at the Emirates than Martinelli.
Brilliant.
I mean, he is a talent. There's no question he's a talented player.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to turn
one of those
that.
Sexy lads that does sexy stuff without actually anything happening.
Yeah, you've got to turn it into something tangible, haven't you, at some point?
It would help if they had a forward. Like Lacazette didn't really turn out the way everyone expected, given that he was one of those lads that we were desperate to buy as well, apparently. But I think it's kind of interesting that they set up almost exactly like we do, and not like Pep does, which is what Arteta was trying to emulate for the first season and a half he was there. And then halfway through this season, they've modified how they set up to play much more like us. So Partey plays like Fab, and then Xhaka, who you'd think automatically would be a double pivot, but he's not. He's playing to the left, the connector, and he gets forward, and most of his touches are 20 or 30 yards further forward than Partey's. And then they've got Odegaard from the other side, who is freer, and he makes lots of off-the-ball third-man runs, and he's great at carrying the ball. And then Lacazette doing the weird thing of dropping in that you would expect him to play in the last man, and he's not. He's allowing the two wide players to play higher up. So it's interesting how that they tried to set up and do the things that we did, and they were doing them all right. We didn't do the things that we're good at with possession, which is the problem. That our forwards and our attacking eight, they ended up being in a straight line way too often. So they were too high, too quick. And as soon as we started switching vertically, so you would get one player dropping as the other player rushes, or the other way around, it doesn't matter. But you've got some vertical movement and integration between the phases, then we start to create chances. But that didn't happen until the second half.
So I like the way there's a nice visual representation of what you talked about there, Si, and that's the pass map for Arsenal, which Bart's posted just up in the live show chat. We have occasionally seen these pass maps before, and I called it the crab because it's like a solid block of 8 and then 2 pincers either side, but there's nothing in the middle. So there's literally nothing in the central attacking areas of the pitch. There's no who are they connecting to? So you had 2 strong wide players there. But yeah, what's in the centre, Si? It's madness.
But good luck trying to get anybody on the centre between Van Dijk, Matip, and Fabinho. The one time they tried to get through the middle, it's going to lead to the shot that you're going to talk about in a minute with Mane. But Fabinho put in this hellacious tackle to win the ball back.
Now, Barts, in our group, I did pose a question to you. About this at halftime, and you want to have a think about it. So I want to just ask you that against good teams, in quotes, good teams, when we play Jota in the central attacking role, does this create a tactical problem for us in build-up? Because in my very naive view, the Jota is his primary strength is finishing moves and getting on the end of moves. right, I would say build-up is probably the weakest facet of Jota's game. And what does that? If we have him in that central attacking role against top opponents, right? Like, so let's say top 10 Club ELO, for example, that kind of level.
Yeah.
Does it create an issue for us in build-up in these matches? And if so, what would we have to do to mitigate it?
See, I was thinking about it. I thought about this a lot, and then Simon made a point about putting Mo in there. But and I think we chatted about it actually in the group at the same time about the fact that actually one of the problems we had in the first half was our front three played in front of the ball, advanced to the ball very high, which Klopp said in post-match. He said that there was not enough players playing in between the lines. Mm. So it's hard, and we always say,
place, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah.
But we always say don't take one game. You've got to look at it in the context of overall performance. Yeah. So in this game, we can say the same thing about the intermatch as well at Anfield. True. But I mean, Jota is just coming back from an injury. But yeah, he does play higher than Bobby. What can we do? I think you'll notice I thought Hendo played a little bit higher and more centrally this game at times, which could have been mitigating and Jota playing higher.
Especially in the second half, I thought.
Especially in the second half to try and crack it. But then we had Bobby on from 55 minutes and he definitely dropped in between the lines. And you saw the difference in that. We started to get the old V-shape between the old band, if you like, and the movement. So I think you've got to mitigate that with the right eight being a bit more centrally, picking the ball up and playing in between the lines that level, if you like. I think it's difficult to change a complete way we're playing because you get so much more from Jota going the other way by him playing.
Exactly,
then maybe
exactly.
Mane and Mo can then drop in a bit more.
I mean, I should have prefaced this, by the way. Problems is very, very much in air quotes.
Oh, yeah, you said first world problems, right?
Yeah, it's like a first world problem, not
top
ELO
10 problems, right? But I think the main problem for me was all three of them were playing really high, right? So if one of them wasn't doing that, it would have been fine that Jota was doing that. But all three of them wanted to play up ahead of the ball pretty much on the last man. When we changed that dynamic, i.e. Bobby coming in and almost at times him and Hendo were fairly level, you then get you get more peritus in the game. You create what are they called? Permutations, which are mixing up or creating unstable scenarios for the opposition in that area in front of the ball. That's it. That's what I think happened with Bobby coming up. But I think Jota can do that. I just think he's not in great form at the moment. And one of the three I think should be timed with not always playing higher up. Which for Arsenal, for me, they all played in front of the ball.
Any thoughts on that discussion? Sorry, Rhodesy. Si, any thoughts on that discussion?
Yeah, I think the key to it all is that when Jota plays down the middle, Salah has to play, because when Jota plays down the middle, Salah is the full-on attacking creator. His shot creating actions when Diogo is down the middle are 6.2 a game, and typically they're closer to 4 when he's not. So he plays higher up when Jota isn't there. The thing that Mane doesn't link play that well. He carries the ball, and Robbo also carries the ball.
So does Diaz.
Yeah, so you need somebody that's going to link play as a passer too. And thankfully, currently, Hendo has switched back into team first. I'm going to retain possession, Hendo, which I think I love, and it works much better for this
brilliant,
team
just
right
not
now.
having to talk about him being the worst player on the pitch again, isn't it? It's just having really good games as part of a really good team performance. So anyway, back to the front. So front three, just to sum up, could I possibly say in my naive understanding as well, like just as we talked about midfield roles all season and having the right balance, do we also need front three roles?
Absolutely,
and that balance. Okay,
absolutely.
So if Firmino isn't playing and dropping in, it has to be Salah on that from the right, slightly deeper with two players ahead of him. Right, okay.
Yeah. But even that being said, Bobby last season was playing higher than he usually did.
Yeah, for sure.
So Mo, to the second half of the season, Mo was being the creator then as well.
Yeah, but we have to accept that Diogo's always going to be one of the two forwards ahead of the other, because that's his role. That's
it's in the last 2 years, it's become Mane's role too to be higher up, because like 3 years ago he used to be a provider. never in the final phase, but his build-up play was always he was always involved more in the build-up phase than he is now, and now he is a get in the box kind of forward, and so you just need one of them to be their first thought is to be come get the ball.
Yeah. And that's the thing is when Diogo does try to do it in like he did against Inter, and then in this game he does try to come in and he does try to link the play. It doesn't quite work because that's not his strongest part of his game.
No,
for me anyway.
But you need one of the forwards at least, preferably to drop deep so that they can link the game. But you also need one of the forwards to actually retain possession when they get passed. And Mane in this game was 54%.
Was he?
So he was losing 45%.
Pinball machine.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to be high. Typically, what's decent for us is high 60s. Mo came on at 77%.
Yeah.
And okay, Rhodesy, you were going to come in there. Sorry, before. Did you have a contribution on this point?
Yeah, it's interesting because if you have a look at the dashboard and have a look at the pressing zones part of that, in the first half, if you imagine that those lines out there, or put a line from the edge of the Arsenal's penalty box, so where the D is, to the edge of the centre circle, right? When I was collecting in the first half, there was a massive big line between that space. So that's where all the pressing was happening. It was something I haven't seen when I've collected. We weren't engaging. So let me give you an example. When we played Inter in Italy, we were constantly trying to harry their keeper. They were trying to pass it out inside their box, and we were massively high pressing. In this game, it was like a mid-high or a high-mid press, just in between that zone. I think it's the zone 14 and wider. So there was a massive group of pressers right in that zone in the first half. And then in the second half, it changed again. So either we were dropping a little bit off, obviously when we scored, we're going to do that, or we were going a little bit higher. There were more presses occurring in the box. So it was we wanted to attack their Ramsdale or their defenders. But in the first half, we didn't want to engage with that. We didn't want to commit players into their penalty box to let them pass around us and then have space. It was really, really controlled. Genuinely, brilliantly controlled.
Did you see Thiago's post-match comments when he was interviewed with Robbo? But he said that in the first half, our pressing was a little bit inaccurate.
Well, yeah, in the first 20 minutes, it was close to 50-50 fails. And then, obviously, if you look at the efficiency, it increases massively. Maybe it was 60-40. But I was collecting it, and in the first 20 minutes, I was thinking, oh my God, this is going to be horrendous in terms of efficiency. And then I think after 20-25 minutes, we picked it up a lot, and there were more group presses. A little bit, like I said before, a little bit more controlled. So yeah, absolutely, he's right. Obviously, he knows more than I do.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. I've got the heat map for you for the first half. So I'm just going to snip that and I'm going to stick it into the live show chat. No, hang on. It's
very interesting.
Hang on, no, it's not. It's not quite right yet. 1 second.
There were hardly any. Hardly any presses in our half either.
Right. Just while we're on the pressing, the Papa chart, Rhodesy, was just unbelievable.
It was. How's about that for intensity?
Right at the top of the red zone.
I didn't want to bring it in earlier, but I think it really does link with Si talking about the rotation. You can't have 281 presses without having fresh players. You can't do that. And this is what this rotation allows us and enables us to perform like this level of intensity.
Yeah, because the Inter game that you collected as well, that was massive. That was 268, I think.
We keep doing it.
Yeah. And these are massive, massive numbers. This is the most presses we've had in a league game, Premier League game, for 4.5 years.
God, Jesus.
Yeah. We had 281 in the cup final against Chelsea, but that was over 120 minutes, not 90.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about now. Do these pressing? So yeah, I've got this dashboard now, the heat map of what Rhodesy was saying. I'm going to put it in the live show chat. So that is we are pressing from right to left, and as you can see, Rhodesy, what Rhodesy perfectly described, midway between the centre circle and the D, there's just right across the pitch there's a string of pressures. Yeah, a wall of pressures. Yeah, very little beyond it, Rhodesy, like you said, just a wall, a red wall there. And it lines up with where all the pressing chain is on the as well. If you look at the, I'll put the pressing chain for the first half in as well. It is exactly. It's just little chains of 2 or 3, but nothing extravagant. Like not long chains of 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. But just little chains, just like, and you can see the momentum, the directions of this as well. So with the way the pressing chain works, the smallest dot is the start of the chain, and then it sort of goes in a conical shape, and the dots get bigger and bigger, and the cones get bigger and bigger as the chain goes on. And you can see all of them are trending towards. They start nearer the halfway line and go slightly towards the Arsenal box. So you can see it really clearly on that one, I think, Rhodesy.
Absolutely. And I think you've got to bring it in at this moment, because it was who we were targeting. We were targeting the centre backs, and Partey was targeted like I've never seen a player.
Yeah, and you're right, and it turns out you're right, Rhodesy, because it's the most targets we've made on a single player in a match. 61 presses on one player. I mean, his ball and play time is only going to be 60 minutes. So I'm just going to get the. I've just got the.
He's absolutely. He is a player as well. He is super.
Like him, Rhodesy.
He's a good player, and I think that sort of links up a little bit. I know the pass maps can be a little bit deceiving because they're only, I think, as I said, a volume, but it does link up with that, because Partey was pressed a lot, right? And yet you see, like I said, his side of zone 14 has let a lot of things in, so we've won it and gone again. I think also the picture I sort of wrote in my notes was we weren't letting anything come through the centre of the pitch, which if you look on the heat map that you put there, Darth, and the passing chain shows you that we've pushed them out wide, right? We're not letting them go through the middle of the pitch, which was a key victor. And then we backed Trent and Robbo to defend 1v1 with Saka and Martinelli when they put the switch on and whatever else, and that worked. And if they put a cross in, then we had VVD and Matip with Fab to deal with the cross. So it worked perfectly, and that also kind of links in with your point about the crab map for Arsenal, because they couldn't get the ball through the centre of the pitch. They couldn't link in with Laka and what's his name, Odegaard or whatever it is. Yeah, so they couldn't get him in the game, because we basically went, no, you're going to go wide. You are going to go wide. You're going to play over there, and then we'll deal with you. We'll defend with you over there.
And then Robbo had a really good game, to fair to say.
So was Trent. Both of them were superb. I thought they did really well.
And look at the target efficiency against. So you've just described it perfectly for there, Phil. Martinelli and Saka, target efficiency 96%, 97%.
Yeah,
we were brilliant against them.
Yeah, superb.
But like I know what we said, it brings back that you can give it to these talented white players, but they're being defended well, and they haven't got anywhere to go. They can't get it to anybody, and so they basically run out of space and turn the ball over again. So, but just on the pressing, Rhodesy, Partey 55 targets, obviously, in which seven in groups, 8 possession wins out for them, including 1 to a shot as well. And even after that, Xhaka was 34 targets. And on the player combos, we do have to call out Jordan Henderson on Granit Xhaka, 18 targets. Yeah. That is some serious. I remember Bobby getting over 20 once on the Chelsea dude, the centre mid. What's his name? Jorginho, yeah. I remember Bobby getting shitloads on him one time. But Hendo, 18 on Xhaka, and Thiago,
He's
16.
Italian, Darth. He's Italian.
He's Italian, yeah.
I thought he was Brazilian.
No, he's Italian. Just won the Euros.
Oh, yeah. Was he from Brazil?
I think
no idea, but he's definitely just won the Euros.
I saw
Jorginho from Italy,
I definitely saw a program BT Sport where they were talking to Thiago's mum, and she was like in Rio somewhere and living in and she couldn't speak in English.
Yeah, born in Brazil. He was born in Brazil.
Right. Okay. Right. So he's got an Italian passport. Right. Like Veron. Right. So anyway, I lost Thiago 16 presses on Partey. as well. That's phenomenal as well. And I'll put that in terms of the player pressing for us, Rhodesy. Some massive numbers from the 2-8s. I mean, Thiago 44, Hendo 42. But I guess what the thing is that you didn't say was, like earlier in the season, there were gaps. There were gaps in the chains, and there were people who was low inefficiencies and stuff like that. It's really, really solid. All there. All the pressing numbers are really solid, aren't they?
What did I say about Henderson in the cup final against Chelsea? I said there was a lot of good pressing in there, but the 4 failed presses that he had led to 3 big chances.
Yeah.
How many shots did we concede in this game from pressing? None.
1. Yeah.
Was it 1?
Yeah.
When was that? Oh, yeah,
Robert,
maybe 1.
Yeah, 1.
That was it. Virtually hardly any XG.
Yeah.
It's a complete and utter contrast from that cup final.
Yeah.
It's a superb performance.
Yeah.
Superb.
So, 44 presses for Thiago. Henderson's, that's the most in any game for Hendo since the Barcelona game at Anfield, the 4-0. And it's worth noting that Jota and for Bobby combined with 66 presses from the centre-forward position, which is unbelievable. And unfortunately, they don't have neither of them has more than an hour minutes played, because they don't quite meet the bar for my possession-adjusted criteria. But otherwise, they would have been the number 1 and 2 possession-adjusted figures ever. Especially Bobby, 65.3 possession-adjusted, just unreal. To get 30 presses in 30 minutes or 35 minutes, just ridiculous from Bobby, something on like that.
Dan, what's a high number of presses on a person? You were saying that Hendo and Xhaka. What's a high number? What's a decent number?
10 or 12, I'd say. Is anything over 12 is unusually high for a one-on-one duel in a match.
Okay. Are they usually midfielders?
Not necessarily. They can be. We've also seen it on fullbacks as well in some games as well.
No, are they usually our midfielders?
No. Well, obviously the centre forward role is massive as well. The false 9, yeah.
False 9, yeah.
But yeah, I can get some numbers on those for you if you're interested in terms of top pressing combos and stuff like that, targeting combos.
But yeah, how? Sorry, also to note how Jota and Firmino play their role differently. See how Jota had higher target on Gabriel and White, yeah, and he did Partey, but Firmino concentrated on Partey and Gabriel didn't bother with White. So
he played the role different.
He dropped in a bit more on the 6 for me, and then Hendo was picking up the other one, wasn't he? The other. So they sort of went in that spot.
Yeah, all these are great, right? All these are great, and they're not wrong. I'm not even suggesting remotely that they're wrong. Just that the narrative was really easy to form, that the subs made the difference, but they came on at 1-0 up.
Yeah.
So Arsenal changed how they were playing. Like, we always talk in these grand terms of what we were doing, but there is another team involved, and they changed the thing that they were doing because they were 1-0 down at the time when Bobby came on.
Completely agree with that.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, Bobby, yes, I agree. Bobby was good in this as well. But we'll come on to that.
Things can be true. He was amazing.
Absolutely, yes. Both things
he was amazing, and they changed their. So I'm not saying that he wasn't amazing. I'm saying that what Barts was saying about it being different, there was a different challenge on display as well.
Yeah,
we didn't win because Bobby came on and did this tactical thing that was different. He had a tactical thing to do that was different.
Yeah, I get that, Simon. I've just put a chart in there as well to support what you're saying. There wasn't much difference in the phases. If you look at that, there is hardly any difference in the passes, the touches. The only thing that went up in that sort of middle phase around the subs is our shots. So yeah, I completely agree with you. So I think I'm just trying to say they did a different role, if you get what I mean. But totally impacted. Yeah, I completely accept that. They came out at 1-0. But I think they helped us gain even more control, if you like, and see the game out.
So, I want to talk about 10 minutes either side of half time. Just before half time, how do you describe the play from Trent, please, to set up Mane? I was just sublime.
Well, I want to take it back another 10 seconds to the they were breaking on us. Ødegaard was going through the middle, and Fab just slammed the door in his face. And with the tackle pass that went to Henderson, which went to Trent, which Trent then slotted with this beautiful. It was a cross with this cross shape that, but it just happened to be 30 yards deeper than he usually attempts it from, and it fell beautifully to Mane, put him through on goal. What seemed like a good touch at the time, but actually allowed Gabriel to come over and get in his face, which probably reduced the XG. But it was the shape of the pass is just beautiful. We've never seen this stuff before. It's amazing to watch. We have Glenn Hoddle at his very best playing right back.
Yeah, that's a great shout. That is a great shout.
Just to confirm that, Dan, Fabinho was unbelievable as well
in the press.
Yeah, because whenever there were the fails, especially in the first 20-25, he just shut it out. Whenever they got through the centre, whenever they did what they wanted to do, which was go through the middle, because they weren't having any success on either flank. Obviously, there was the two Martinelli dribbles, but apart from that, Fabinho was ridiculous.
And Thiago was ridiculous, and Robbo was ridiculous in this game. Robbo won a season high. He won 19% of all our possession wins.
Robbo?
Yeah. Thiago won 17%, and Fab won 17%. They were the three highest. That's it. We have players 16, 17, 18 all the time, but it's never Robbo and it's never Thiago. Well, Thiago can be like 14, 15, but these are season highs for those three players, and Fab's just Fab.
Yeah.
And there's no surprise to me. A couple of things that I think come about from pressing and being front foot is that Bukayo Saka got when I talked about like receiving passes, that he held on to 50% of the passes that were targeted because Robbo just pinched it off him every time. And we had no through balls attempted in the whole game.
Didn't we? Interesting.
That's the platform that creates our ability to press.
Yeah.
And when we don't do that, that's when we get picked off with through balls. I think we average 3.2 through balls a game against us when we concede goals, and less than one per game in games in which we don't concede goals.
So, last one on the pressing to support what you just said, Si, about who won the ball back for us. That was obviously your stats cover all match scenarios. Just from possession wins from pressing in this match, Thiago got 14, which is an extremely high number. The most we've ever had is 16, and one of those occurrences was from Mo Salah in the reverse fixture against Arsenal at Anfield earlier this year. But yeah, Thiago had 14 possession wins from pressing, 9 of them direct, which would this is basically his joint best performance in terms of high value wins and direct possession wins. Along with Thiago's other two best games were the game at Old Trafford last season and the game at Wolves earlier this season before Christmas, when Divi scored in injury time.
Here's a big shout. I wonder if Dan has seen this. I think he's our best counter presser.
Thiago.
So we lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. It wasn't this game.
I think he is the one that, not from the front, because that's generally not where counter pressing happens. And people think counter pressing happens when the thing where Bobby has a terrible touch and goes and chases it and wins it back. That's not what it is. It's the thing that the ball breaks and instantly there is somebody already there to pick up before, like to intercept the first pass out and
to nick in front, right?
This is anticipation, Si. He's quicker. He's thinking quicker than everybody else. He's anticipating what's going to happen quicker than everybody else, and he's a sneaky fucker.
Yeah. He is so much better than I thought he was going to be, and I thought he was the best midfielder in the world.
Yeah. I thought it was superb again. So, have you got anything on? This is going to sound weird on their long ball, right? Because I thought second half their keeper just went long into the wide players.
They both had reduced long ball rates.
Okay, like I just thought the keeper.
Long ball rates.
I just thought they stopped trying to get like an outfield player to hit the wide players. They wwent straight from the keeper straight into the wide players, which meant they were receiving it rather than receiving it running. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean? So because then you take out both those players are good when they're receiving the ball running. That's their strength. They're not good at receiving it first off, bringing it down and turning and going, which I think helps us defend even better in the second half. It's just something I noticed second half. I just wonder whether there was anything. No one.
We certainly dropped deeper after that. I think the game state's an important factor there, Phil. I think you're right.
Definitely. I mean, they changed their shape after the first 20 minutes, didn't they? They started off really high press and they dropped off.
I'm looking at the passing. You're right. He did start to launch it to the right
into
wing.
The wide.
He tried to launch it over Robbo's head for some weird reason.
Yeah, and then Robbo just went, fine, you're going to do that. I'll defend you like that, which completely nullified Saka's game, because Saka's game isn't receive it first and go. He likes to receive it at feet or running onto it.
Yeah.
So coming back to you, Si, just to wrap up the first half. I thought Trent was tremendous in this half. I mean, just like the League Cup game, the narrative was Martinelli against Trent. As you said, Martinelli didn't create anything at all. But I thought on the ball, Trent was our only really, really strong performer in the first half. I mean, the number of times he got those vertical passes inside the Arsenal half, 20, 25, straight up, which nobody else was seeing them. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I just thought we were off in the first half. So the options were reduced, and it was reduced to trying to do insane passes to lay in one of the front three who all wanted to run in behind.
Yeah.
And that was the only option we had. We had no build, we had no rotation off the front. So usually one of them dropped deep and one of them run in behind, which is exactly what happened 3 minutes into the second half. But yeah, so he's just reliant on go on Trent, try to cut them open with some unbelievable pass. And he tried it. I think he got 3 in. But the only one actually created a chance, didn't it?
We mentioned it at half time, didn't we? I thought we've done Liverpool's pressing figures, but I think if we did Arsenal's, we would know that they were doing really well to control Thiago from doing those kind of passes that he was doing.
In the first half, yeah.
Yeah, in the first half, we couldn't get through like that.
But then Thiago was always an option first half still. You watch him moving, trying to be an option. He might not have received it, but he was still good. But no. I mean, because Trent tries that ball 2 minutes before the half-time one, doesn't he? And Mane just doesn't quite come off again. But yeah, I thought Trent was phenomenal in this first half.
Trent didn't actually have the ball very much in the first half. So if you look, that we played the majority of our time down the left-hand side, and I hadn't noticed, and what Bart said was true, that they lost possession so many times down their right-hand side through long balls that's where we had possession, and so it's easier to play down the left-hand side. I looked at the stats and I was thinking, I was wondering what it was that we were tactically doing to play down the left. If you remember, I said that we're not really using Trent very much, and Hendo had 12 touches in the 40th minute. He was doing off the ball stuff, getting the ball back, but in possession he was basically anonymous. But Thiago had like 45 touches at that point, and he had loads of the ball, but everything was on that side of the pitch, so there was not a lot to create, and there was no movement ahead of him. Everyone was just going really early and staying there. But it makes total sense now that they were losing the ball there, so that's why we had it there instantly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the defining period of the game. Rhodesy. So 50 minutes, I think, 49 minutes. Thiago actually makes a mistake. He doesn't do it very often, but it was a big one.
Yeah, so Matip clears it, doesn't he? He clears it with a kind of a weird clearance, and I think Thiago takes it down brilliantly. But then there's 2 players in between Thiago and Lacazette. And I find this hard to call a mistake. I don't know how it can be a mistake if you can't see the Arsenal player. You can't see through players.
No, but is it one that you don't
cast the ball across, didn't he?
Yeah, you don't cast the ball across your own. But it was like Gerrard to Henry against France. Yeah.
I think if a
Perfect
player,
through ball for him. Yeah.
Or
if
to
a
Suarez,
player is in the line of
Thierry
sight,
Henry against Arsenal. He did it
Yeah.
twice against Chelsea. It was one of the. Gerrard used to do it occasionally. I think it's what brilliant players do. They take risks, and sometimes it's at the wrong end of the pitch.
Yeah.
I still don't think it was a risk. I don't know how you how can we like we recycle possession between our defenders and our keeper, and we've got midfielders who pass it back to our keeper. How could I know it was quite congested at that point? Arsenal had just had a little bit of an attack, and Matip cleared it. But if he can't see the Arsenal player,
didn't you start the pod off by saying why didn't Thiago get a defensive error?
No, I did, but that's a statistical definition.
You're a walking contradiction, Rhodesy. I don't get it.
I was criticising Opta, not Thiago. I can't. How is it? What can you do if you see a pass back to the keeper for him to either launch it or rotate and go back to Trent or whatever he's going to do? If he can't see Lacazette there, how is he supposed to go? I shouldn't do this.
All right, okay, right. So that didn't go as I thought it anticipated. But anyway, let's talk about the goalkeeping then to salvage the situation. Then, because
unbelievable.
We find ourselves in a very big hole, and somehow we scramble out of it. And somehow it's Alison Becker, Alison Ramsey's Becker. So how did you do it, Rhodesy?
Well, his jockeying of Lacazette initially was superb because if you've got Mignolet and Thierry Henry or whoever was in goal for us at that point, Thierry Henry just goes around him and just taps it in. He jockeys. He doesn't let him get a shot, and then he cuts it back to Odegaard. And then watch the highlights again of what on any keeper, any fan, watch the highlight. He's so focused on the ball. That's all he's looking at. He's just concentrating completely. He's not even looking at Odegaard. He's not trying to outdo him. He's just focused completely on the ball. And he makes an unbelievable save because he stands up long enough. He doesn't commit. And it's brilliant. It's genuinely... It's a game-changing moment, isn't it? It could be a title-winning moment. It could be all those things.
Yeah, and that's why you pay the big bucks for the best players, because we saw Barts that 3 minutes later their goalkeeper scores a preventable goal concedes a preventable goal. If we're brutally honest,
I don't know who wrote the journal who wrote it, but he said it was the story of two keepers. Because Alisson does that, which Rhodesy's done well there to give it the credence it was. Piece of goalkeeping in 2-3 phases probably. We go up the other end. I think it breaks to Thiago, who is it 10 players you counted? He cuts out with one pass.
Well, I think it's packing. If we had the packing stats, I think that would be a 10.
That's the packing 10.
Yeah, it's packing 10, and then Jota puts it in from an angle that, let's be frank, he shouldn't score. And it goes in near post.
He blams it hard and low. Fine.
Yeah, but he shouldn't.
But yeah.
He shouldn't score from there. Yeah,
because it.
Yeah, he was poorly positioned, really, wasn't he? Because
poorly positioned. He didn't use his feet. His footwork's poor, and it goes in, and you think, that is exactly what you just said. You pay your money, but they paid money for Ramsdale, didn't they? Wasn't he? Isn't he 40 odd?
What did you call Ramsdale early in the season, Brundish? You called him something.
You called him something, yeah.
I have no idea. I call him loads of stuff. I tell you what he is. He's the English Kepa.
That's it.
There you go. That's the one.
If he wasn't English, he would be Kepa. But because he's English, he's the second coming of Christ. When Chelsea signed Kepa, he was amazing in Spain because he's a good shot stopper, and he does he does great shot saving for the cameras. The opposite. He's just the opposite of the goalkeeping spectrum to Ali. Ali does nothing spectacular. He's just better than you. And Ramsdale, all he does is show off for the goddamn camera, and then he did the same against us in the first game. That he lets shots in he should be saving. And both goals he should save.
I was going to say the second one, he doesn't do himself any favours at all. It's poor. It's just poor goalkeeping.
But if we go back to the beginning of this goal, that Jota scored 3 minutes after Thiago's pass, which was 2 minutes after the first movement. We had that vertical rotation that we were missing in the first half. That Jota spun deep and had a touch, which allowed Hendo to play in the advancing runner, because a runner went from deep to fill the space that Jota left. Mane went through, offside, goal, whatever. But that was the beginning of that happening.
So, as somebody who played at a reasonable level, midfielder, how do you see a pass that cuts out all 10 players in that position? Talk to me about how that is even possible, because it was just phenomenal.
Dude. It's not even that. If you look at the goal the pass from behind the goal, right? It's multifaceted what happened that caused the problem for Arsenal, right? It's the timing that Robbo made an advance down.
Yeah, they thought the ball was going to him, didn't they? They thought they were shuttling across.
Saka blocked the passing lane into Jota, right? And he should have been tracking Robbo. He didn't, which meant that Cedric went out, started to move out towards Robbo, which then allowed, which Mane saw, made a little burst, which committed the first defender, and then he checked out, and then Jota made a burst into the space. So you had three things causing Arsenal panic, right? The whole time Thiago saw all of these things because of his 360 vision. It's unbelievable. And then he lined up, he faked to pass to Mane, because there was actually an angle. He could have slipped Mane straight through the middle, and then did the whole Arsenal defence with his eyes. And at the very last second, he adjusted the angle of his ankle and whipped the ball straight through to Jota. So everybody went for the Mane pass, whilst Jota was clean through with 10 metres of space, because Arsenal were doing their job, and Thiago is just that brilliant.
But it was the weight of the ball as well, Si. The weight of the pass
was good, but the actual pass wasn't that hard. It was a very simple line straight through, because there was a big gap because of all this stuff happening. But it was the fake on the pass which made the pass so brilliant.
Completely agree.
Yeah, and we all agree that it was a preventable goal from Arsenal.
The goalkeeper should have saved it.
Yeah,
I don't think they can prevent everything that happened before the shot, because it was a 20-pass move. We were moving them about all over the place, and also great off the ball movement.
Should have been at worst, it should have been parried for a corner, shouldn't it? At worst,
it should.
Well, no, if he hits it there, where's Mane in it? Is it Mane in the box at that point?
Yeah, he's central, so he's got to turn around the post.
There's a chance. Yeah, but you don't know with Ramsdale. He might have just put it straight back into Mane's path, and Mane taps it in.
No, but I'm saying if it's against us, right?
The
worst thing you want to do.
There's no way of getting the ball to the middle of the goal.
No. Well, I don't know.
He just has to get a solid wrist on it, and it either parries it back towards Jota, or you push it around the goal, around the post. It's just what goalies do.
Well, Addy probably catches it, so you know.
Yeah, probably does. Yeah, or uses his feet maybe to cover it. Stick it wide of the post. So, talk to me about the rationale where Klopp was making subs anyway, and it was Jota's last kick, and then there was some discussion about this especially on social media, about why is he making the changes he's just scored. Talk to me about the thinking from the manager's perspective, why he had subs lined up and he went through with them.
Well, I'd imagine that he had the subs lined up that were pre-planned before the game at 60, maybe. And he talked to them at half time. Look, motherfuckers, you've got to do this thing that you're not doing right now. That you're getting too high. You've got no vertical exchange. There's nobody rotating deep. Please do more of that. Jota, as I said, Jota did it once in the first 5 minutes. Well, that was better, but it probably wasn't happening in the way that he'd hoped. So he got the two big boys to come on to go and fix the problem. We scored. He, at that point, either could go, oh, okay, they've done this thing, and Ramsdale and Jota probably made a bad choice by having the shot in the first place, because he probably shouldn't have had the shot. He should probably have passed it to Mane. But thankfully their keeper's shit, so maybe I'm tactically going to change back to, I'm going to sit with what we've got, or I think this tactical problem we have right now is going to be solved by these two people, and is going to one, give us more attacking threat, but two, is going to allow us to dominate the game in a more specific way. Shall I carry on? It might hurt Josh. I imagine that's the debate he had in his head, and hurting Jota's feelings ends up being way lower down the.
To be honest, he's got his win bonus, hasn't he? And he's got his goal bonus, so he's all right.
And Jota's the most substituted player we have.
Yeah,
so he's used to it.
Yeah, nice one. We've already talked about how we changed the style of play when Bobby came on, anyway, and how Arsenal changed. But Rhodesy, back to the pressing briefly for the second goal, because
yes,
in the dashboard, as well as the 281 presses and the 52 possession wins, both massive numbers. We also had 5 presses leading to shots and 1.13 xG from pressing, but 3 of the shots and about 0.9 of the xG were in this unbelievable sequence. About 12 seconds, 15 second sequence.
Yeah,
can you remember it? Can you talk us through it?
Well, Gags was straight on this, watching it live, wasn't he? He was in the group, he was on Twitter, he was probably on Facebook and Instagram. He was going, 3 shots from pressing in that sequence. He was loving it. The first one was Bobby and who was it with him?
It was a group. Oh, it was Mane.
Bobby and Mane, yeah. It was Bobby and Salah, that's it. And then Bobby cuts it back weirdly when all our players were ahead of the ball. But he does get to Thiago. His touch is a little bit hard, which is a rare event. And then Salah shoots. And then it's blocked and Salah presses again. And it comes out, deflects out to Robbo, who shoots. That's blocked. It goes out onto the touchline. Robbo follows that up, blocks with a press, and then he cuts it back to Firmino, who flicks it in. It was, I think, Gag said, in all he's been collecting for all the time this podcast's been going, and he said he'd never seen that. And I'd like to know if we've ever seen that, because I can't recall it either. It was just...
No, there was a game against Pochettino Spurs where I think we had 3 or 4 shots from one sequence in pressing. Yeah, that's the only other one I can think of, though.
But yeah, that was it was joyous to watch.
By the way,
don't you think Bobby should have put it in a 6-yard box with his instead of the cutback, because it looked like we had 2 players in there.
I don't know. Sorry,
I don't know. I was going to say, flicks it in is a little bit of an understudy. The touch was absolutely brilliant.
You know? For the goal. The first one.
Oh, no, I just went, he pointed where he wanted it, waited for the ball, went in and just diverted it past the keeper. Beautiful. The touch was superb. Yeah, I just thought
the finish was unbelievable.
Yeah. Bobby, that was.
Yeah, so just on the pressing, it was Bobby and Mane on Gabriel of the first press leading to shot, which was the was it the Salah shot, the first one?
Yeah, Mo followed that.
Then it was Robertson on Saka.
Yeah.
And finally it was Salah on Partey. Oh no, sorry, Salah on Partey was the second one.
The second one, yeah.
Which led to Robbo's shot, and then Robbo went out back and pressed Saka and went before putting the ball in. But yeah, that flick, I had to watch this about 8 times before I'd figured what Bobby had done. Barts, did you? It was just sublime, wasn't it?
It was just sublime, and I said this to the group, and I was half joking and half not, but it was great to see the old boys playing again. Like the 3 of them have basically been part of our mainstay of our success.
Classic front 3, wasn't it?
But to see them play like that again and get the V shape, with Bobby dropping in the 2 go higher again, was just, I thought it was beautiful at the time. It just really brought back a lot of happy memories, and then we had the control as well, and that goal was just typical Bobby. Lovely finish, lovely little finish, and lovely touch. Outrageous as well in some regards, because you'd think, well, what are you doing there? But he just put it in. Lovely.
Yeah. Now, Barts, stay on, because last one we want to talk about is there was a set piece in the second half.
There was.
And you spotted something.
I did. I've sort of clipped it from the usual kind of sources, but if you watch the video, basically I spotted this. I watched I think it was on 57 minutes or 58 minutes, and it's Robbo taking an outswinger corner. I think it is one-handed, goes to mid front zone, gets deflected to the outside to Mo, whose touch in this game at Arsenal takes him away and doesn't really help him with a chance, and the shot's blocked. But if you go back to the very first game of the season at Norwich, away at Norwich, Costas does the same move. He pings it to mid-front zone, it's deflected down, Mo takes a touch into the box and then bends it into the corner. And I was just fascinated. I've seen that before, went back, watched the Norwich game, went, yeah.
Well, yes, because it's when you did all that collection earlier in the season.
Exactly. So
collecting the corner data.
So if you watch the video, it highlights the signal, the target zone, and where Mo is, and then it gives you where the Mo is, but Mo's finishing shot is with some hotspots to put on it. But I just thought it was very interesting that a different player taking the corner, slightly different setup, but it's same target area, same play. And Mo didn't take it off punt this time. But
we suggested early in the season that we might have a playbook, a set piece playbook, like an offensive coordinator in the NFL. And it makes you when you spotted this, and they do look exactly the same, carbon copies. That maybe this is a play that gets called every now and again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Lebo's just said there they did it in the League Cup against Norwich too, which is fair. But I just thought, you're right, and this is quite far. First game of the season to what? We game 28, 27, this one, 29, whatever it is
in the league.
That's a long period of time. So you move it around, you change it around. So the basic that we have, go to that zone, knock it down into second phase to the edge of the box with someone there. It was just interesting for me that it didn't matter who the two different takers in the same outcome. We got a shot off second phase. So it was good. And I thought all game, our set pieces, we won the first ball, if you like, and developed it either with a header onto our goal, or we were creating a second opportunity for a shot. Unfortunately, we didn't break their stat where they've not conceded from a set play all season. So we didn't.
Although it's important to note that they have conceded 8 set play goals, so all the others will be from free kicks and delivered into the box and indirect. But it is a bit of a weird anomaly, isn't it? Yeah,
it is very weird.
They've got to have a trophy though, haven't they? They haven't got the top 4 trophy anymore, so they've got to have the not conceded a set play from.
Yeah, and they can't play in their own tournament anymore either, like the Audi Cup or what was it? What was the little tournament they used to have every year at the Emirates and call it they've won something? So I can't remember what it was, but you know what I mean.
Oh dear me! Right, and just on Arsenal generally, I mean the match we saw the game out, I thought, pretty emphatically, to be honest, and just wanted to look back at the 4 games across the season we played against Arsenal. And they've had 24 shots in 4 fixtures, and only 8 shots on target in the 4 fixtures. A total of 2 xG. So you could say potentially they maybe should have scored 2 goals. That might be fair comment, but only 2 xG in 4 matches, and we've had 7.3 in xG in those 4 games, and obviously all 4 clean sheets. It's been total domination this season, and Diogo Jota. Now, he scored 4 goals 3 separate times. He scored in 3 out of 4 games this season against Arsenal. And he's now got, in terms of his Liverpool career, he's now got 6 goals against Arsenal, and his next best against any other team is 3. And Bobby Firmino also got now his most Liverpool goals are against Arsenal. He was his 9th against the Gunners. And it's more than he's got against any other opponent. So yes, the boys like playing Arsenal, and long may it continue. Any final words, any other business on this match? Say. Barts?
No, I was just going to say it comes into your, was it 0.84 non-penalty XG difference? Where does it fit in your graph? Is it a lucky win or just under a lucky?
Slightly lucky win, very slightly lucky win.
Very slightly win. I was just checking in.
You do get some draws. You have got draws in the 1 xG range, whether it's plus 1 xG. So that's a lucky draw.
We gave them 0.3, didn't we? So
lucky wins the reasons you have the best goalkeeper in the world.
Yeah,
absolutely,
for sure.
I would say.
Go on, mate.
Go on, no, go on.
It's kind of a different point, but I would say my favourite thing from this game was Dave calling Arteta Poundland Pep Guardiola.
Poundland Pep.
Put across the knee of a master in Jurgen Klopp and got his backside paddled. He's got away with words, that lad.
He has got away with words, but I'd say, actually, I meant to pose this to you earlier on, Simon. I know it's a cliche, but this was definitely the performance of champions, wasn't it?
Yeah. We have the Swiss Army knife of systems.
Oh, yeah.
I've just been reading a whole bunch of, Pep's got the greatest system in the world. Pep's also a system manager and whatever. It's bullshit. We have the best system in the world. We have the refined Swiss Army knife of the AC Milan team of 1989 to 94. We can beat anybody at any tactical game. We are better at it than they are. So you can give me 400 passes to slide into the hot zone to get some fancy backheeling twat to try to slide a ball in that might not be there once every 15 times, so we get to win a game against fucking City. But we can beat them at anything.
Yeah, Arrigo Sacchi is one of Klopp's idols, yeah?
Yeah.
We're so good. If I just statistically, if you look at the rolling 30, rolling 38 games, we're ahead in points per game, ahead in goals conceded, ahead in XG. They beat us in XG against. Happy days. Rolling 10, we're ahead in points per game, ahead in goals per game, ahead in conceded per game. We're better than them in XG, and they're better than us at XGA conceded. Right, so if they keep the ball the whole fucking time and don't give many shots up, but then they occasionally do give a shot and it goes in,
yeah,
who cares? Like we're still getting more points per game than them. If we can turn over the rolling 19 game average, we've won the league, and they're slightly ahead of us in that because of our ridiculous blip against West Ham and fucking Brighton. But without that, we'd be dominating this league. We are currently on target. Both teams are on target for 91 points at their current trajectories. 91 points, and we'd win on goal difference.
But there are very different forms at play, I suggest, Barts. Brundish. Yes, they're both projecting, but I think the form of the two teams is slightly in our favour, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, but it needs to be in our favour because we're behind them.
Yeah.
So to end up on the same number of points, we'd have to be slightly better than them.
Yeah. It is in our hands, as we know. So, but yes, and on that bombshell, we will be back at some point during the international break. We will review the Forest game quickly, and we are doing a Mo Salah contract special on Under Pressure. So look out for that one, and we'll notify you when we fix the date for that. But until then, up the Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.